semifinals, we got quarterfinal number 3 coming up. It's going to be Strifecro versus Ostkaka. Should be a pretty interesting game. Are the players bringing the same classes to this? Is that right?
Let me verify here with my handy-dandy caster
Druid Rogue
notes.
Shaman versus Druid Shaman Rogue. Well, the same classes in different orders. I remember Strifecro had a few twists to his decks. Was it him that had Tuskar Totemics in the Shaman deck? So many Shamans and so many Druids. I can't keep track of all of these.
Tuskar Totemic was Ostkaka's aggro Shaman. I mean, we saw Tuskar Totemic in Super JJ's, but you know, it was pretty interesting to see him adapt when you can't really put crackles in your deck, and he seemed to have taken a more board-centric approach. Tuskar Totemic isn't exactly, like, on paper a blatant aggressive card, but it does seize the board early on, which is something that you want to do. The only problem is that the criticism against Tuskar Totemic for a long time is that it has a hard time fitting in with the rest of the deck if you have so many small overload. So, like, you play Totem Golem, you can't play Tuskar Totemic the following turn. One of those jokes is like, well, if you want to play Totem Golem, just play Tuskar Totemic, and then you'll get Totem Golem. So it's all these different dynamics of stuff because the variance is pretty high on it.
That's right. That's right. And Tuskar Totemic might have a very interesting implication when the standard format does actually come out. You know, if you think about it, you do drop a totem that is not particularly desirable most of the time, like Vitality Totem. If you're playing Tuskar Totemic, you're usually wanting to have the highest chance possible for totems that affect the board immediately. So that coupled with possibly we'll see a few more totems implemented in the game. I wonder if eventually we're gonna look at this card and see it like Bane of Doom. I mean, I think there's some chance that we're gonna have, like, you know, Totem Colossus come down. It's like gonna be like a 7-mana totem that you could get off of Tuskar Totemic. I mean, that's kind of what makes Bane of Doom so cool. There's like all the garbage, but you know, there's all these like absurdly broken cards that you can get, and I wouldn't be too surprised to see more of that. Regardless,
no, I agree.
None of that today.
It's one of those interesting design spaces where it's like, well, I guess for the next year, Blizzard's not going to print any, like, you know, Totem Reaver, where it's like a 4-mana 7/7 that, like, Battle Cry make your deck useless like usual. So it's because then the Tuskar Totemic can summon and end the game. But I agree. I think Bane of Doom is pretty interesting because it's like the card itself is pretty weak, like 2 damage for 5 mana. But sometimes you get Illidan or Draxus or even Mal'Ganis in the most crazy scenarios. Truly going to be a wild thing to experience as time goes on. In the meantime, though, I think the variations within these decks will just be very small and nuanced. I think one of them, the one thing that I picked up that we haven't really discussed much is that it seems like there aren't actually any chargers in these rogue decks that run the Cold Bloods. Cold Bloods is just for burn, like, in a way. It's like you tag it onto a minion that already is going to be doing damage to face anyways and gives you some extra range on that to end the game quickly.
With Auctioneer if you need. We've seen that you know, you don't want to just drop Cold Blood because it ruins the balance of useful cards and perpetual draw mechanics with Auctioneer. So, like, if you take out Cold Blood, you have to put in like Sinister Strike or something, and you really want to do that.
And if you put Sinister Strike, you might as well go for like the Malyghost build, and that just changes the identity of your deck because Cold Blood it lasts for more than 1 turn. Sinister Strike is just a guaranteed 3+ damage with spell damage, but you know, Cold Blood can hit twice over, especially if you have 2 conceals. So it makes sense given the game plan for Ostkaka. We saw Amnesiac do the same with his build and a few other people as well. Meanwhile, I think Strifecro took more of like an oil-centric approach, oil rogue approach, but without the actual oils. It seemed like it had the 2 teachers and a couple of other interesting replacements with some cards. But you usually double up, right? A lot of cards within Rogue are debatable for the second copy. You don't really necessarily need a second Farseer these days. You don't necessarily need the second fan of Knives.
I like 2 of both of those cards, man. I love it. I love the Farseer. I love the Fan of Knives. I think they work pretty well in the tournament format so far.
I like them. But you can expect. I think Strifecro runs the sprints, right? He does the sprints and the. I guess it's
Yeah. Is it Strifecro with the sprints? I know one of the rogue players is just running straight up sprints and no auctioneers.
I always do.
Well,
I guess we'll
Ostkaka's
find
more
out very quickly.
you know, assuming we can get to that point. Already some things happening here in the mulligan screen, which you guys can see in just a sec. The first is that Strifecro's on the coin, extra card, but he already has early game plays. And one thing you don't want to be doing is just stuck hero powering over and over until it turns 4 or 5 if you're Ostkaka. So he's definitely going to probably hard mulligan a lot of this in order to try and get early game plays like SI7 Agent, Backstab, Tomb Pillager.
Yeah, even Blood Mage. Blood Mage is all right against some of the other decks because it's a little bit of a speed bump. Like against some of the aggressive decks, it's going to trade with something most of the time. But against the Rogue, because so frequently you dagger up on turn 2, if you're playing Blood Mage Thalmos instead of daggering, you're giving your opponent a 1 mana tempo, and that can mean a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it's a great point. The Thalnos doesn't actually do much at all, but looks like Ostkaka chooses to keep the Gadget Sand Auctioneer in the opening hand. That's an interesting choice. You have any opinions on that, Krip?
Yeah, he's probably thinking that if he's going to win a game, he needs to have a Gadgetzan, and because he's going first, it's pretty unlikely to actually draw into a Gadgetzan, by the time that he needs it. So okay, sure. I mean, I'm going to trust I'm going to trust these players' opinions on these decisions over my own easily, right? So I mean, I may have not done that, but I'm going to safely say that Ostkaka is making this play with confidence based on results that are significant.
Right, so just for confirmation, Strifecro is the guy with the sprints in his deck. He's got that Assassin's Blade for huge burst and I believe the South Sea deckhand. So those are the ways you can really outfit your deck. Although you still are going to be missing a lot of the usual suspects, the heal bots, the Belcher, the Pilot Shredder, even the Boom. I definitely think that's more of Strifecro's style. He's got some plays. I think daggering up here is perfectly fine. You've got so many opportunities with the Violet Teacher. Now that you have coin, prep, backstabs, like you have so many ways to make Violet Teacher very good next turn. I don't think you need to overextend here.
Yeah. We're going to see probably just a SI being dropped. Putting down the first minion on the board tends to have some nice advantages.
Well, it's not going to be a very good ending for Ostkaka on turn 3 here because we see Violet Teacher backstabs is still available to it. However, Strifecro also has the option of taking it even slower, saving the coin, and using the Farseer instead. But I still think the Teacher is the better option by a big margin.
Yeah. The Teacher is also nice because those 1/1s gradually become threats, and if your opponent has to use his weapon on that, that's more and more tempo that you're pushing ahead.
Yep. So even though the 1/1's not terribly impressive, it's just another thing that has to be dealt with because it's very annoying. And speaking of annoying, Ostkaka can't get the value he's looking for, so...
No. This is an interesting thing, though. I'm noticing that the conceal is showing up as green, which means apparently you can conceal nothing in order to combo another card. I didn't know that was the case. That actually makes conceal a little bit better than what I thought it did.
Yeah, it could be at worst just an empty spell to start the combo activators. Shivs the Teacher in case he gets Eviscerate.
Yeah.
It doesn't, so he's going to kill the 1/1 and re-dagger. Ouch. Look at that Farseer putting in some work. Once again, going to put it outside of the Eviscerate range and make it slightly annoying for his opponent.
Oh,
it's a prep sprint as well.
Yeah, it's too clean. Like, if you play a minion, you might be just playing into a board clear anyway. The prep sprint. It's always like when you're kind of ahead already and your opponent is playing a combo deck, you don't know what they have. the best way to get ahead is to just draw as many cards as possible.
Yeah, you know, I ignored that sprint for a while, but on turn 4, you're absolutely right. That's what you want to be able to do when you have a board initiative. Plus, you get 2 tokens from it too. So, you know, again, the tokens aren't the most impactful thing, especially not in the Rogue Mirror where you can just see a bunch of Fan of Knives and flurries come out. But every small little advantage really starts tilting in your favor when the more you're able to get value out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can just see that Ostkaka is like forced to play in an uncomfortable way. Like, he'd rather play Edge Break this turn. He'd rather not have to dump his Blade Flurry like this. But because the teacher continues to threat with so many spells waiting, it's just one of those really annoying things that you have to take care of.
I think I'm pretty happy with that line of play. It gives him a clear. The board clears whatever. Ostkaka's going to have to win this game by drawing most of his deck through Auctioneer anyway, so I don't see it as a huge disadvantage.
Eviscerate to clear.
Pretty
feels
aggressive.
like. Yeah, it's. I mean, there's another way that he could have, but I think he just wants to save the South Sea for something else. I was originally thinking
Tomb
maybe
Pillager,
South Sea.
I was thinking the same.
And then next turn he has like, you know, Assassin's Blade with Deadly Poison, just like start going ham. But
Well,
I guess
I think the idea behind his play is his opponent is really struggling to remove minions, and he might be saving like a sap. So sap is very poor on Farseer, but very good on Tomb Pillager.
it's a great point. Farseer is a card you're more than happy to get sapped normally, because you can get more use out of it.
Now, I wonder if Strifecro is just going to go all in here with the Assassin's Blade. He can push for 8 damage. That is a lot.
It's a lot with more from the hand. He's got at least 6 more damage from the hand, so
7.
he'll have 11.
Yeah, he's got the spell damage eviscerate with the charger if he needs.
All right, that's an extra point, so 12 damage.
Too soon.
Which would be a little bit short still, but I mean, that's an intimidating weapon to go through. Plus, now when you play Auctioneer and Stealth, is there any guarantee that your Gadget's hand will stay alive? It could just get flurried.
I get the best deals anywhere.
It doesn't matter, though. I mean, you have to go for this play, no matter what.
Definitely agree. I don't think you have a choice, but it's one of those things that you wish you didn't see that right before you played. Okay, well, you could load up the board. You can also try to draw a little bit with the with the Fan of Knives. You don't have to drop Thanos, but it gives you some spell power
So many options.
if you want to be aggressive with Eviscerates.
I just don't think the Gadgetson being at 2 or 3 health actually matters.
Thank you.
Okay. Looks like he's just playing the Thanos to load up board, maybe get another draw next turn. But yeah, it didn't seem like there was much point in the fan there.
Yeah, I think the draw was the important key here for Strifecro, because he says, you know what, I don't actually have game-ending damage. I'm gonna go very much on the offensive and see if my opponent can stop it.
All right, well, Ostkaka has a lot of actions to make. He ideally would want to close out the game this turn. He hasn't really used much in terms of damage. It's just he's going to be limited on mana. And wow, the first 2 spells producing 2 minions draws. Just horrible, horrible luck here. The Deadly Poison's a lot better. But can you go for that right now?
Yeah, you can get a flurry with it. He still has one more flurry in the deck, I assume.
But
even though you don't have the oils, but it's you still run 2 things.
If you play the Deadly Poison, you can't play the Farseer.
Yeah, that's a good point. Conceal again and leaving it up to whatever his opponent has.
All right, well, that looks like it. Looks like Strifecro just has it. The 1 Eviscerate should close this game up.
Oh, style points. Fam knives. Alright. Not really much style there. There's nothing left you can really do. Everything else is just occupied, so. Looks like game number 1 in the book. Strifecro off to a very quick lead as the rogue deck gives him a slightly bigger advantage in the series. You know, we mentioned that the gadget stand versions are just a little bit slower than the tempo-oriented ones around Violet Teachers. So I think it was really good display right there to just showcase exactly what we're talking about. You're a turn or two behind what you need to be.
I feel like Ostkaka's decks are overall just a bit slower versions than Strifecro's. Strifecro's running the Violet Teacher Druid, which can produce a board much faster than the traditional Druid. He's got the Shaman that's more traditional for this tournament. It doesn't have the Tuskar Totemics or the Hex, I believe. And the Rogue as well. So typically, I think when it comes to mid-range or fast decks, the faster deck has a small edge over the slower deck. And I think that's actually reversed when it comes to the slower control decks, but I don't think these decks qualify for that.
It's an interesting observation. It kind of doesn't really matter too much how fast it is when it's when you're playing like opposite matchups like Druid versus Shaman, but when you're playing mirrors, it definitely is very noticeable how fast the deck is comparatively. Druid starts off with the Innervate and Living Roots and a Keeper of a Grove. That's a really good opening hand for Ostkaka.
Yeah, I kind of feel like
lore.
This is over already for the Shaman. You have to draw so well. I mean, the Shaman still has the mulligan, but you have to draw so well to beat this.
A turn 1 Keeper possibility followed by a Living Roots possibility, or it depends on what threats come out. He might mix and match his plays based off of what he sees.
Oh man, Arcane Golem. I think you guessed this on the first day. I think you guessed that Strifecro might be running the full 6 3-drop degenerate team.
Yeah.
The double Arcane Golem.
Basically, go full Face Hunter, for lack of a better term. Face Hunter just plays all those chargers. Every single one of them. And of course, there's also the unwanted cousin of the terrible trio of chargers. Of course, being the Nomergon infantry.
Well,
that's when you know you've gone too far, Krip.
I mean, that card works pretty well with Crazed Alchemist. That's 4 charge damage. You don't even give your opponent a mana crystal.
Oh my god. Yeah. I guess you're right.
Oh, the Savage Combatant is a big problem here.
Yeah. It's just 8 damage that's capable of coming out every time you hero power. And you can start hero powering every turn, because you're not going to be doing much in the early stages. Tunnel Trog is not a good sign either.
No, you have to Leper Gnome here.
2 Arcane Golems. My god.
That's a surprise.
It is, but the reason why you want to play a lot of these chargers is because you want to. They're high tempo, plus they're just a lot of damage that you can rack up quickly, and it's additional range that people don't really account for. You can imagine that Arcane Golem is like a 3-mana spell that does 4 damage, not necessarily that it's a minion that has charge, because a lot of times you're expecting just to hit once with it.
I really feel like if you're playing like 6 chargers, you should be playing Flame Tongue Totems as well. Because if you have 2 minions and you have a Flame Tongue, that's 4. But if you have a charger as well, that's 6. That's the damage efficiency is through the roof. Like, that's as good as it gets.
It's still only 6 chargers though, and Flame Tongue ultimately still doesn't synergize that well with the rest of the 20+ cards of the deck. So it could be one of those things where Strifecro doesn't feel compelled to. But you could be right. Again, these are the first iterations of the decks that these players felt like were the best. And, I mean, if you give them another week or so, maybe they would have figured out Flame Tongue Totem would have been good, for example.
Man, this is so much damage. Strifecro is dead in 2 turns to the board.
It's 15 damage just by hero powering and attacking.
Yeah.
What is with these double combatants, man?
And who
Everyone
needs
was talking
Shredder?
about the combatants and how weak it was to Shredder, but they kind of forgot about what happens if you can get it out proactively with an innervate. My God.
I think he has the Arcane Golem one down.
And then playing Tunnel Shrug.
Yeah, I guess.
Ugh. Help your opponent ramp. Oh man. We're
Wild
pissed.
growth. Thank you.
We are so pissed if we're in Camp Strifecro. And Ostkaka, we are jumping for joy. Being able to take out the Tunnel Trog. You can do it in a variety of ways. You can even silence it and push face too.
I think I like the silence because the Savage Roar lets you push for so much more damage.
See, if you hit him to 19 with the Savage Combatant, you'll have 7 plus 6 is 13, plus the Hero Power, 16. So not quite enough, but getting very close. What if you hit face?
No, it's plus 2. It's 19. No, it's 18. It's 1 off lethal. Alright.
Okay. So, next turn, the maximum damage he has is, I guess, is the Savage Roar Hero Power, which is 5 plus 4 plus 3. 12. Not enough. Oh man, this is just too clean. Too fresh and too clean.
It is
For the
ridiculous.
Grove plus Hero Power. Now Shaman's overloaded. Just putting onto display why Overload was often a criticized mechanic, because while some of these cards are fantastic, the moment you get behind, you're just gonna, it's just a snowball effect. You're just never gonna climb ahead in mana usage again, and Druid's the one that benefits from grabbing a lot of proactive tempo with mana. So, I'm not sure.
Alright, well, Arcane Golem's gonna swing at face here. We're getting closer. I mean, those Savage Combatants were dealt with. That Taunt Wall really helped Strifecro just prolong his stay in this game.
Yeah, he does have Doomhammer with Rockbiter. And we could pick up another Rockbiter as time goes on. But he is potentially dead.
He's facing lethal here, and that's gonna be it. I mean, there's no case for clearing minions here. And you just lose the Savage Roar itself.
Not even the greatest choices either. Life tap is not what you want when you're like really far behind on board and you have no life remaining. They might just use any Savage Roar, Force Nature to kill you.
I think if you life tap into a Lava Burst, you don't die. You're like 1 off, but I mean, where are you then in the following turn?
Even further behind. That's part of the logic.
Alright, well, here comes Savage Roar.
No, man.
That's gonna be
With the Force
16
of
damage,
Nature.
I believe. Oh, the Force of Nature.
There it is. So, game 2 going to Ostkaka, and we have a tied series. Really starting to heat up a little bit, but again, relatively tame games overall. It's like one player getting a very strong lead and never really relinquishing it. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm really curious how the Shamans would match up against each other. But I feel like the Shamans have been bullying the Rogues so far. I think the very few times the Rogues have beat the Shamans has just been on the back of some crazy burst draws. And in general, the Rogue just doesn't have enough time. So depending on the next matchup, we might not get to see the Shaman mirror.
Well, yeah, that's not necessarily something that I'm too sad about, just because I think the Shaman mirrors are, while they're very fast, some of them are a little bit like too, it's just like too dependent on if you have early game plays and just get blown out. But I'm not sure. I mean, if they have the elemental destructions, those are always very dynamic with how you actually play. And of course, the Rogue is always an interesting matchup against Shaman as well, because I like seeing how Rogue stays off aggro. It's always one of those. It's kind of like watching those survival movies like Starship Troopers or something. Yeah.
I will make the
I
prediction
need more
that
backstabs now.
I don't think either Shaman deck has Elemental Destruction. I don't think you'd play Hex if you had Elemental Destruction, and I don't think you'd play 6 Chargers if you had Elemental Destruction.
It's a great point. The Elemental Destruction slot seems to have been filled by some of those other cards. Strifecro is on Druid this time, and we're going to flip the classes. Ostkaka on the Shaman.
Yet again, the Druid seems to have the edge in the opening hands, but they have not been mulliganed yet. This could drastically change.
I would assume that he wants to return the favor of dropping that Keep at the Grove or Living Roots very early on, and then Ostkaka is just going to want a 1-drop of any sort. And if he knew his opponent's hand, he'd probably want... Well, you always want Tunnel Trog, but you also just want more resilient minions, and not ones that just get dunked by Keeper of the Grove, for example.
All right. Well, that is a pretty damn good start from the Shaman. It is no Tunnel Trog opener, but I think this is second best here.
Yeah, Sir Finley McMurgleton, similar stats, get you a hero power.
What hero power will it get? Is it always the Hunter? We've seen a lot of Hunters in this tournament, as it turns out.
A lot of Hunters, a lot of life taps. And actually, I kind of want to see it because I feel like we're in that funny scenario where it happens to be life tap, fire blast, and steady shot again. I just want to see it. Oh, okay.
Looks like it's a Searing Totem.
Searing Totem every turn. He kept the Shaman hero power, Krip.
Well, no, it's much better because you can get a Searing Totem when you already have a Searing Totem.
It's true. You know, it's like those... have you ever played Juskar Trueheart and Shaman?
No, but I've had it played against me, and the guy played like 4 Taunt Totems in a row.
Yeah, it's awesome. You get to choose which totem, and you get to have multiple copies of it.
Oh, no, I didn't get
Pretty
4
funny.
Taunt Totems. The guy played 4 spell damage totems in a row and just crushed me with, like, crappy spells. Build your own Malagos.
So funny.
What to do?
10 mana later and 5 turns, it's like you're able to finally get to Malagos' level.
All right. Well, what is the play here? The Juggler is obviously the explosive one. I kind of like the Juggler just because playing it after turn 4 always gives you that uneasy feeling of it getting keepered, and playing it into 3 mana is probably the best chance you're going to get.
There's little time.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. But, I mean, I don't mind the Totem Golem as well.
All right.
Just stats.
This does lock you in, though.
Yeah. Trying to see what this innervate changes, but
It really doesn't change anything.
yeah, no, you can't really put out a 5-mana minion. Living Roots and Keeper doesn't do much. You can kill off the 3/4. That's about it.
Oh yeah, you can kill off the 3/4 with Keeper and Living Roots.
I must safeguard the land.
All right. Well, the Juggler is still going to be an unfortunate play here, but yeah, again, I think you just got to go for it. It must be very depressing to play this Shaman deck.
Yeah, because the overload again, you would not be as upset if you had the opportunity to use 3 mana this turn, play something, but Ostkaka hero powers, my god. That's how much he doesn't really want to play Knife Juggler into the other Keeper of the Grove.
Yeah, he's probably thinking of doing the Charger and the Leper Gnome next turn. He's going to follow with Knife Juggler, Feral Spirits to try to get as much mileage out of the Juggler as possible.
Hex.
And that's a pretty good card because, I mean, Ostkaka actually has a pretty good minion base. He's got minions for this turn and the next, all throughout.
That's a good point. It's true. Strifecro doesn't have anything to play next turn except for Savage Roar for now. So inevitably, when he finds out his opponent doesn't drop anything significant, the Hex is going to land on a pretty big minion.
Yeah.
Right now, it'd be landing on Thorson, for example. I mean, you have to evaluate, like, okay, what if Strifecro plays this minion next turn? Is my board going to be too weak to get past it, or am I going to be in a good position where Hex is really good? If he doesn't do anything, what's the best case scenario that I can exploit it?
He's mostly thinking if he wants to trade. The thing is, Swipe doesn't really punish that hard because the Feral Spirits work so well against the 2-attack minion like the Keeper of the Grove here.
Yeah, good point. Second Keeper...
Gotta do it. Gotta do it.
You use it for damage?
Yeah, I think you use it for damage on the 2-1, then you kill the 1-1. Both these players in this match are just, desperately scrambling to get the most, garbage on the board as fast as possible. So there is no saving. There's no viability of waiting in any turn. There might be a case for attacking into the Keeper here, though, to kill off the 2-2. Just to ensure that some of the taunt minions will survive and protect the Juggler.
Well, there's still that Knife Juggler and Feral Spirits play, so I'm feeling it. The more I look at it, Ostkaka is still going to weigh all of his options.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know too much outside of what he wants to do with that. Is there another play that we're not seeing right now that Ostkaka's weighing?
No, I don't think so. The decision was really whether he wants to kill off the 2-2 minion or not. And I think the way that he's been playing, trying to invest as much as possible into the Juggler, is consistent with this line of play. Well, here actually a Savage Roar is not too bad. Savage Roar lets you clear everything but the 2-1 minion.
Yeah, you're going to want to kill off the Knife Juggler as well with the Living Roots.
Yep.
So I think it's okay, just because what you really want to do is just to stop taking damage and then be able to flip the switch. I guess you don't really feel happy using the Savage Roar now, but you gotta pick up whatever win you can on the board here, because there's just too much damage represented by you being passive.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna take like 10 damage from a wave of minion hits, there's almost no chance you're gonna come back and win this game.
That's a good point. So here we go, Living Roots on the Keeper, by the Keeper onto the Knife Juggler, and that's just burn. There's no minions. There's no Doomhammer.
Lava Shock is pretty decent though.
Helps him get more mileage out of the 2-1.
It's still a pretty long way to go, but this deck can do it. Ooh, that is an outstanding draw.
Man, would you go for that, or would you go for Emperor Thorson?
I think I'd like going for the Druid of the Claw.
Druid of the Claw lets you squeeze into hero power, so that's ultimately why I feel like I lean towards it.
There's some cause to kill the 1-1 here. Well, definitely see a Hex here, though. You have to save all the damage you possibly can. It's not worth Lava Bursting. I think this is going to be a pretty easy play. It's going to be a Juggler Hex Dude. The Juggle doesn't really matter where it goes. You're going to end up doing 1 damage.
I guess the debate is, what do you want to use to remove the Druid of the Claw? I mean, one of those things that you have to account for. What if he has Ancient of War? Do I want to save Hex for that? Do I want to use Lava Burst now? All valid questions when you have to account for everything. You think, what did Strifecro play in the previous games I saw him play? Did he ever play Ancient of War? If so, what's the likelihood he has it? And beyond that, you know, if can I win if I don't do that? Kind of hard to evaluate all these things.
I think the point is that
Reporting for duty.
he's evaluating if he had Ancient of War. Oh. Okay. Well, it looks like he left it up to chance. With that sequencing, it seems like he was willing to Lava Burst if the juggle had landed. But my thinking was that you have to weigh in the option because he played Druid of the Claw on 7 mana with a hero power. But wouldn't an Ancient of War represent a bigger wall against that? So it seems unlikely that he would have an Ancient of War. That's why I think Hex is just the better play.
Yeah, I think if he had that, he had 7 mana, it would be the better minion. Druid the Claw still has application as the game goes on. Ancient of War, you want to get down earlier so you can control it. So I agree. I think you can make that assessment going for it, and that's why Hex might be the better move.
I think I would just go all out face with minions here.
To do.
Don't worry, loves. The cavalry's here.
Yeah, this is certainly interesting on where the juggle lands. It hits the
Reporting for
face.
duty.
He only wants face juggles, I believe.
Okay. So, Savage Road number 2 gets picked up.
This is really tough. I think you have to heal yourself.
Why can't you play Cenarius?
Yeah.
I think if you play Cenarius, it's actually okay.
What to
Mhm.
do?
In the sense that you know your opponent has to get through it, like through all these small little taunts. And if you play Ancient of Lore, it's less stats, and you're only gaining +1 health net. I guess you hero power, so it's the same.
Waits for no one.
But then Ancient of Lore gets more flexibility because it's reduced 1 more mana. I don't
Yeah.
know, it's close.
I think you swayed me with the Cenarius play. I think I like Cenarius. But it looks like Strifecro is just going to play as safe as possible.
Well, right now he doesn't look like there's lethal just yet. We're waiting to see if there's another lava burst or some kind of thing to really add to the damage
It's 4
points.
damage that he needs. No. But you could consider a board clear here. Just to protect your Tunnel Trog.
Man, yeah, I like the board clear option just because I want Tunnel Trog to be doing damage. Unfortunately, I won't be expecting the Cenarius, though, to stop the Tunnel Trog in its tracks.
Cenarius comes down. Actually, they get through the taunts immediately. So even that is not too bad. Really, the nightmare scenario is swipe. If you play the Tunnel Trog and clear the board with spells, if your opponent has a swipe, it's going to be very difficult to find the remainder of that damage.
That's a good point.
Time.
Ostkaka roping again, trying to come down to what decision he wants to do here.
Flag rule.
Okay, looks like he ends up using a lava burst to clear.
Reporting for duty.
Okay, he goes for the trade instead of the lava shock.
Oh, man.
Okay.
What a draw.
Is that better than Cenarius, though?
Cenarius splits the damage. Ancient of War focuses on it. Cenarius is better against things like Earthshock
And Hex.
because you can't really do it. But I think the Ancient of War is pretty good because I think your opponent would have spent time removing a lot of your other taunts, so you know that the last card is an Earthshock, and I think you need to get value off of that Ancient of War.
Yeah, the Ancient of War has more complete stopping power.
Time waits for no one.
The payout is higher. Okay, here we go.
Well, I like it. Ancient of War comes down, and gonna really set up this big wall. You need Earthshock in order to shut it down. Doomhammer
Oh,
can't
that's
get
gonna
through, though.
do. Yeah, that's really nice. It's gonna buff the Tunnel Trog by 2, and does actually offer a board clear here. And Ostkaka has the health to work with. It's really Strifecro that doesn't have the health.
Yeah, what do you even do if you're I guess you just go ahead and kill it
You
off
take
and then
10.
try to fake the damage.
I think it's better to keep the Divine Shield. The Divine Shield will lead to more overall damage.
Oh man. Take 10.
Yep.
Alright. Is it time to play scenarios now? Has he waited long enough, Krip?
Well, the scenarios actually really blows against Doomhammer. Doomhammer
Yeah, it just happens to be convenient for the 2 hits.
Yeah.
I guess it stops one of the Rockbiter charges.
I wonder.
But, you know, if you don't do this, how do you actually survive potentially? I think you have to play with scenarios.
No, this is gonna work well to stop a Rockbiter, I guess.
Yeah, 4 damage. Man, if he had the Hunter hero power, Drew would be dead by now.
Yeah, Druid would be dead.
Paladin's just doing little bit damage, inch by inch.
And I do want to mention that a Force of Nature would be lethal here.
Yep, Strifecro is on a draw to win, and it's a cheaper Sagittarius. I don't know if that actually makes a difference.
No, he would have
5, 9.
he would
9
have
plus
22
is
damage total. Ooh, that's not gonna
5,
fly. He's got to
12.
draw.
Oh man, how many swipes has he used by now?
He just needs a point of damage or taunt. Doesn't get it though. That's it. He dies to the board right now.
6, 7, 9, 9. Yeah, I guess that's it. You know, the Paladin hero power just is a little bit enough. At least it wasn't like Priest or Warrior or Life Tap.
Or Shaman.
Or
Shaman would not have done almost
the
any
worst
damage.
one. No, hero power. That's kind of what Finley is, though. Finley is just literally like improving the worst possible scenario, which is often to start a hero power for like those aggro warriors and for the shamans. All right, game 3 in the books. Didn't even need that lava burst to wrap it up, and you know this one was a little bit slower paced. A lot of thinking back and forth, especially on Ostkaka's end.
Absolutely. And Ostkaka goes from a 1-0 deficit to a 2-1 lead right now. He is on match point, and he has got his Rogue, the deck that he's been putting off so far. Now, I think the Rogue will get obliterated by this Shaman, but I feel like Strifecro's Druid is exactly what the Rogue hopes to play against. It has a few extra slow cards that are just like, you know, absolute sap victims.
For Doomhammer.
Yeah, but we'll see. Like Ostkaka goes for, you know, again that like ability to race with the Cold Bloods, and that gives him huge potential to swing the game. We've seen him 2 turns lethal from 30, right? It was the 12-12 Van Cleave, and then a Cold-Blooded Drake or something like that, and it was like 20 damage plus the Eviscerate and Blade Fury. So that was one of the things that really put him over the edge in that mirror matchup of rogues. The good opening start for Strifecro, getting those 1-drops, but he definitely wants a little bit more to follow it up. It's an argument to keep Doomhammer sometimes because you really just want that damage anyways, especially against a class that takes damage. When you play Leper Gnome, they have to use their own health as a resource. So you can definitely bet Strifecro's thinking, do I keep Doomhammer? He throws away Leper Gnome. Whoa,
Yeah,
he's
like
going
he's
all in on the Trog.
Yeah, he's trying to get as many Overload cards as possible to make this thing work. Well, he's definitely satisfied that. Now, the Rogue can kill the Trog with a backstab, but he's going to have to coin a hero power as well, which I don't think he's really willing to do. Oh, certainly not now. That is the dream Van Cleef. That is Backstab Prep Fan Coin Cleef. That's the dream. Oh my god, he's gonna get destroyed. He's gonna be on 1 mana next turn. This Van Cleef is gonna annihilate him.
Well, there's still that possibility of Earthshock, but I think you do go for it. I was thinking if there's any need to like do anything to play, but I think you're absolutely right. That's going to be a 8/8 or 10/10.
I think it's a
10/10. It looks like. That's a 3-turn Van Cleef kill if you can't stop it.
Shaman's on 1 mana though. Can't do
Earthshock.
anything this turn.
No, it's got Earthshock. Watch. Crypt, do you believe?
No.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, Sir Finley, you have quite the adventure on your hands.
Those hero powers are horrible.
The 3 worst.
Heal.
It's gonna try to out-heal the Van Cleef.
Yeah.
I mean, Thanos is a card draw, which is something that you're definitely interested in because you dump so much of your hand into this play. Okay, you know, the Feral Spirits can stall for time.
A little bit. He's saved his Thalnos and Blade Flurry, so he can clear the board. Oh, except for the remainder of the Finley.
I wonder.
But I think Strifecro is going to wait on that play. I think he's going to try to juggle it out, I believe.
Yeah, I think the Feral Spirit still is his best chance to survive. I don't know if you can take another 10 hit to the face. That's just asking for Rogue to finish you off in top deck mode. And if you Feral Spirit, that you have 3 mana remaining the following turn. Argent Horse Rider is follow. I don't know. I don't really like any of these plays besides the Feral Spirits.
Yeah. Well, he's basically got a minion on the opposite side of the board that has a 0 on top of the stats of your board. Like 1 magnitude higher. Oh, and a prep. Does that help? I don't believe it does.
Not unless you want to develop the Tomb Pillager. Like in Flurry, but that's pretty much the only way you can use the prep. Is that that's a clear on the Van Cleef, I think, right? Can you use it? You can Earth Shock. Sorry, not Earth Shock, Lava Shock, and then use the Abusive Sergeant.
You can do
That's a
lightning
lot
bolt,
of
lava shock,
resources.
abusive.
What to do?
I guess you would Lightning Bolt first, then Lava Shock,
Yeah.
so you can get the maximum mana. And then you can, I think you can just use Argent Horse Rider. Or no, you only have 2 more mana remaining. Apologies. Then, oh my!
Wait, what?
He fished for an Earthshock, I think.
Oh, I see.
Little time.
Yeah, and it's like if I don't, I just kill this. Next turn he'll have 2 mana to Lava Shock, anyways. And he's saying, "I really hope you don't have a way to get past this taunt."
Well, he does.
He does. Very much so.
And that coin makes it so he can actually conceal the Van Cleef.
Oh my god, you're right. Coin conceal. Wow. I mean, this is kind of what we're talking about. The fact that you have conceals in your deck and you have big buffs gives you the opportunity to go all in on huge boards. And Strifecro is dead. There's actually no way you can come back from this. Even Elemental Destruction won't save you now. That's going to wrap it up. Ostkaka's aggressive shift onto the Rogue ends up winning him a game by turn 6. I mean, the previous game that we watched went so much longer. It was like such a slow deck. That Shaman deck was more like the control, and that Rogue was more like the aggro, based off how it played.
Well, the super Sax Van Cleef, claims another victim, and that victim is Strifecro. It's awesome when it happens, though. There's usually a bit of planning, and it is a rare enough occurrence that it is amazing each time it does actually occur. Coming up, though, we got
stays alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got the G2 Bros coming up. It's going to be Tice versus Life Coach. Same lineup, practice partners. I think same cards in every single deck. Who's your favorite?
I think this might be a battle of not only wits but also fatigue. It's starting to get pretty late in the hours of Europe, 10 p.m. But some of these guys, they're gamers, so they really understand how to stay up late. Although Life Coach does have, not staying up too late doing some of these moves. But I think at the same time, he's definitely got an opportunity to rebound. If there's anybody that has momentum, it's Life Coach. He's been on the brink twice of losing and then be able to come back strong and go through without an actual series loss. Good stuff overall. That's going to be coming up for you guys right after this commercial break. We want to give a shout out to our sponsors as well: Geek Fuel, the Curse Network, Hearthpwn, and the Innkeeper.com. Helps you sort all of your card collection stuff if you're trying to build the decks. Informs you on what you're missing. When we come back, our last quarterfinal before we start coming down to the wire of who's going to be the Curse Challenge champion. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.